Mistakes at work. What do you do about them? That's what I want to talk about today. This is Marie Gervais with Shift Management, and I want to talk today about the startle factor and mistakes at work and how to avoid them. And this is something that comes up all the time, and it is called the problem of human error at work. Human error occurs because of two things. One is because people have slips and lapses, and the other one is because they have a violation. So the slips and lapses are not intentional. They are something that happen because of the environment and the circumstances around it, which create an environment for mistakes. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. And the other thing that happens are violations where people purposefully make a mistake at work. And that's another category. So I'll talk about both of them and how to mitigate for that so that you have less mistakes happening at work. This is something that you can apply if you are an employee yourself, if you are a supervisor, if you're a manager, or if you're a planner or a schedule. All of these things can be very helpful to keep in mind. There's a whole safety culture around mistakes and human error, and there are a lot of really good documents. If you do a quick Google search on avoiding mistakes at work, you're going to find a wealth of excellent documents, checklists, and PDFs. So people do know that this is a problem, and they have created a lot of helpful resources. The thing is, are we using them? So it didn't take long to find a few things that more than what I already had. So I think it should be easy for you to do that too. So let me talk a little bit about mistakes that are unintentional. What happens, the biggest cause, I looked at a bunch of statistics on the biggest causes for mistakes that were unintentional at work. And the biggest cause is that people are not trained. So if they aren't trained to do the job, they are likely to make a mistake that's going to cause a problem. It makes sense. You throw me into some new place and I don't know what's going on and tell me to do the job. Of course, I'm going to make mistakes. That's just not rocket science. So people need to be trained to do the job. The second thing that's missing, the reason for mistakes, is because people have no chance to practice policies and procedures, or policies and procedures have not been walked through carefully. So they are old, dated, inappropriate, and people stop using them. So then that leads to more errors. So if you, by the way, if you're watching this video, I would love it if you would share it, because the more we learn how to be better leaders and have better and happier workplaces, the better the world's going to be. So help me on my mission of happy workplaces, happy employees, happy, profitable, and productive workplaces. So that's the mission. If you share the video, that would be great. So coming back to this human error issue, mistakes that are unintentional happen because of lack of training, because of inappropriate, dated procedures. They also happen because people have not practiced the procedures, and they happen because there is no procedure that has been put in place for people making a mistake. So what happens when you make a mistake? What's the procedure? How do you deal with it when something goes wrong? How do you deal with it when the machine breaks down? Frequently, there are procedures for that. But if a person makes a mistake, there's no procedure for that. And there also has not been any procedure created for making an intentional mistake. So if somebody tries, if you become aware that there's been an intentional sabotage or an intentional mistake, what's the procedure to follow? So because there aren't procedures for if a person makes a mistake or if a person on purpose tries to sabotage the system, people don't know what to do when that happens. And so that's why a lot of mistakes happen at work. That's why we end up, and then the other thing that happens is people get startled from distractions. So there's a distraction, something happens, and people are tired. So you add being tired, lack of stimulation about the job. Maybe it's boring. Maybe they've done it multiple times. And then the fact that they haven't been trained on procedures for various different things, and then they get startled, they automatically do stuff that's going to be poor judgment. People just don't react well under startle. So if you can minimize distractions as much as possible, that's important. And also to make sure that people are taking regular breaks and that they're getting rest so that when they're at work, they're in their best state of mind. The other thing that's really helpful for mitigating for mistakes is to explain to people why you're doing something, what the effects will be if it's not done right. That's very important. And then teach employees to be mindful. And mindfulness means, how can I look at this through new eyes and see things differently? How can I look at the color of what I'm doing? How can I look at the texture of what I'm doing? How can I notice the surrounding noises around what I'm doing? How can I notice the communication that surrounds the work that I'm doing. If you get people to focus on a different thing, today we're all going to focus on whatever. Helping people to be mindful about a job that could be repetitive or boring can be helpful because they start to notice different things and they stay alert. So all of those things can really help to mitigate for human error. So if we go back, a little bit of a recap, you've got make sure people are trained on the job, make sure that they know why they're doing something, make sure that there are procedures that go for how things are set up, how things are taken down, how the whole thing works. People need to practice those procedures, and they also need to know what to do if they make a mistake or if somebody violates it, what's going to happen. So the other reason that mistakes will continue is because people get blamed or because there are no consequences. And so that's the last thing I wanted to talk about for that. So if people know or suspect that they will be blamed for something, they don't bring it up. And so then it becomes a bigger problem, more mistakes, more losses, more waste, more loss of profit. Everything happens because people don't bring up problems. So in a healthy workplace culture, people feel free to bring up a problem because they will not be blamed for it. Even if they've made the mistake, they're more likely to say, I made this mistake and that's how I messed up, if they know they're not going to be raked over the coals and thrown under the bus as a result. So the question to ask when someone makes a mistake is, how could we prevent this in the future? What went wrong? Let's trace back and see how we can fix it. That way, people don't feel individually targeted or accused of being bad and incompetent people, which just makes them get worse if that's what happens. So you want to look to see what's wrong in the system and how it can be fixed and get people's input so that it can be fixed. That's a really important piece. So if you have that culture of let's find the mistakes and fix them in the system, people are much more likely to bring them up early on before they become big problems. So that's important. The second important thing is if somebody purposely violates the procedure, does something on purpose that's going to cause a problem, there must be a consequence for that. If there's no consequence, then they can continue to do it and it starts to poison the atmosphere because people go, nothing's going to happen, do whatever you like. And that is not the culture of safety or high performance that you want to encourage. So you want to make sure that there are consequences, people know what the consequences are, and that whistleblowers will not be shot, that they're not going to shoot the messenger. So anybody that says this sabotage has happened is not going to lose their job as a result. Things will be properly investigated and that consequences will be applied. So those things, all of those things provide an environment of security. And remember, if people feel safe at work, they can do their jobs well. So feeling emotionally safe, knowing that the environment is going to keep you safe, realizing that there are procedures that if everybody follows them, we'll all be safe as a result, that really helps to promote a culture where there are less mistakes. And when there are mistakes, they're corrected early on and new systems are adjusted or put into place so that mistakes can be corrected when they happen. So I hope you found that useful and that you would be willing to share this and let other people know how we can all increase a really healthy workplace climate and mitigate for human error or human violation. So have a great day. This is Marie Gervais signing off. Thanks for sharing the video. If you want to know more, you can always check out our supervisoryleadership.co. So supervisoryleadership.co is going to get you to find out more about our supervisory leadership program, which is really stellar and has won prizes. And for which we have lots of wonderful testimonials. So you can check that out. But what I really want you to do is share the video. So thanks for helping out and have a great day.